Hey guys, I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I now have all three of the generations of SR15, so I can do the video. I'm going to do the, for lack of a better term, the evolution of the SR15, and when I say that, I do mean the SR15 E3 IWS. I'm not going to get into the post-band configurations that were out before, okay? So, it seems they started teasing the rifle around 2007, and then a commercial release in 2008. It was probably a pretty small circle of people that had it in the next 2 to 4 years. I mean, you know, it was a pretty big price tag. You know, it was a $2,000 gun. There weren't a lot of guns in that price range at the time. I think the HKs were coming out. The LWRCs were getting kind of popular. People were all about piston, and, you know, Knights came out and they were just like, yeah, nope. Nope, we're going to do an extended mid-length gas system. We're going to keep it direct impingement like it was meant to be, and how we believe that the system works the best. So they really stuck to their guns with it, and that's what they did. So the earliest one that I could find in a civilian hands was 2008. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that was their release date. They had this flyer posted up. You know I left her the other day. And it was pretty cool. I mean, there's only one feature on there that changed, something about the bolt face. I can't really remember. I'll just throw that in. But and this was the gun. Now this is obviously the taupe version. And I'll tell you the difference. There is a few differences on the black version, but I'll get into that. So your black version came with the gun, a black LMT mod stock, regular grip, the KAC broomstick handle, and a KAC magazine, you know, which is just a metal mag with a KAC follower. So, and then the black one also right here on the upper receiver had the Knight's shield laser engraved right there. Pretty friggin' cool. And of course it said your typical SR15 E3 IWS here, which you can't see because this is a taupe gun. Or maybe it's not, it was never there possibly. But anyways, so that's the difference with the black. So it's essentially it's the same gun. Now of course I changed some things out, so ignore that. So here you go. Starting from the front, came with a regular bird cage. I've never really heard anybody complain about getting a bird cage, unless you're a dick. Even for a $2,000 gun, everybody likes something different. Everybody has different cans. Bird cage is the best answer. You know, the thing's $5-10, and you can throw it out or use it. They work great. So you had an extended length rail. I believe this is about a 12-inch rail. It's been a while since I really looked at it. Okay, with an integrated front sight. Okay, folds up, locks into place. You do not need tools to adjust your elevation. This is a pretty innovative feature, though some people didn't like it. If you think about it, it's pretty damn smart. I mean, you save weight right there, and you save weight where it counts on the front end of the gun. So also at the time the long rails were just getting popular, and we were just starting to figure out that, hey, I can stick my arm out further, I can mount all my lights, my night vision equipment, and have more space if I don't just have a 7 or a 9-inch rail. You know, bam. I mean, they were ahead of the curve on that. Now, the gas block protruding out of the front was something that I think some people were pretty used to from the Mark 12. I always thought it looked really cool. You know, maybe not at first. It was kind of weird how long it looked. I just thought this thing looked like a mile long, and it kind of does on video looking up here, but when you hold it, it doesn't feel like that. It balances well. It doesn't feel 70 miles long unless all you run is SBRs. This was not taper pinned, okay? It was set screwed in. A lot of people did complain about that. I never had any issues with mine. And I should mention, this was not my original that I bought in 2012. This is one I just bought last year. I happened to find one locally unfired. It was kind of nice. So I got it back because I always regretted that sale. So you had your lightweight URX, your upper receiver extending rail with the built-in sight. with the extended gas system. This is a, let's see, mids 9. I believe this is somewhere in the, around 10 or 11 inches. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but it's not your typical. So your carbine is 7-inch, your mid-length is 9-inch, rifle length's 12-inch, and the Knights is the SR25 gas system. Technically, is somewhere in the middle between rifle and mid, and I believe it's a 10 or 11. Shit, I don't know. Well, let's see if this is a. No, this is a 10 3/4 inch rail, right? 10 3/4. So it's an 11-inch gas system. There we go. I misquoted. It's not a 12-inch rail, but it's still long at the time. Okay. Moving back. Came with a 600-meter rear flip-up sight. Okay? And we are in a day and age now where guns still don't come with sights, and it drives me crazy. It's like, oh, look at my gun for $1,500. Well, you can tack on another $300 for a good set of sights. Okay, so that's an $1,800 gun. It's marketing trickery to sell a gun that has no sights, because obviously you need sights. And sure, you can put some cheap Chinese shit on there, but good luck with that. So, this is the full-size 600-meter sight, and you'll see in comparison to the micros, it is a little bigger, but this is what it came with. Okay, came with a standard charging handle. It came with integrated QD cups into the receiver, both sides. Okay. Ambidextrous bolt. They say bolt catch. I mean, technically it's the bolt catch. You can't lock it back with this. Okay, doesn't do anything. But you do have a bolt release here. Pretty sweet. I do use this on the guns that have it. You have an ambidextrous mag release built into the receiver. It's no trickery there. It's just part of the gun. Came with an ambi safety. So this was one of the first guns that came from the factory that was truly ambidextrous. I mean, aside from that bolt lock to the rear feature on this side, you know, a bad lever, or a few guns have it now where you can lock it to the rear. I mean, this was like state-of-the-art shit at the time. Nobody else had even thought of doing stuff like this, and it makes it one of the, and even with the QD cups, this is one of the most unique receivers out there. You know, this is, you know, if you get a hold of one of these, fine, if you want to sell off the upper, but keep the lower. God, I mean, no one uses these, of course. They hit your hand, they suck, but either way, it's unique, and that's what KAC is all about, unique. So, comes with a 2-stage 4.5-pound trigger. Nothing special. I'm not a big trigger guy. I will show you. You can see, you can kind of, yeah, let me get the other hand. So you can kind of see the first stage, little take up, and just a snap. It's a good trigger. Like I said, I'm not a trigger guy, so I mean, I could care less. A funny note about the taupe model. I don't know how long after the black models came out that they did the taupes, but they sprayed these all as one piece. Okay, if you look, you can see overspray here. Okay, you can even see. None of this bothers me. I'm just showing you to show you. If you look real close behind where the bolt catch is, you can see there's barely any paint in there because it was together like so when it was sprayed. So all the hardware is sprayed. It's cool. I mean, it's not the greatest job. There's little buggers and stuff, and you can see the any imperfections in machining really come out. But either way, this was always my favorite looking finish. To the point where they'd use the sacrificial, you know, plastic, painted it, and they didn't even paint the whole receiver extension. So. Again, I don't care. My original one, I took that off because I wanted a black extension, but this one, I mean, I don't really care. It's not even really to shoot that much. So, let's get into the important stuff. Part of the reason why you were paying so much money for an SR15, okay? Your bolt carrier group. Nothing really special about the carrier itself. Properly staked. You know, made out of all the right materials. but here's where your money goes, okay? And part of it's research and development, part of it's just knowledge and working with Gene Stoner on making the platform as bomb-proof and bulletproof as possible. So what they did, and I'll start, I have a Bravo company, bolt carrier group over here, which is one of the best in the industry, but I want to show you the difference, okay? If you look at the cam pins, it's hard to tell, but this one here, this is the Knights, and this is the Bravo, okay? And when Bravo is mil-spec, this is like everyone else's, Colt, whatever. So this is narrowed from here up to here is skinnier. It's tough to tell. In person you can tell, okay? Here, from here down is still the same diameter, so that's why you don't need a different carrier. The hole is still the same in the carrier, but here, this is thinner. And also you can see the reduced size in the hole for the firing pin. Now, what does that do? Well, it's thinner. It's got to be weaker, right? Well, only if you're a dumbass. So, what that does is allows them to make the hole in the bolt carrier smaller. So what does that do? That strengthens your bolt, your Jesus Christ, your bolt, okay? That strengthens. This is a weak spot on the bolt, right here. Bolt failures, this is one of the places where they fail, okay? So they reduce the size of the hole where the cam pin goes through so they can make the sides meatier. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's one of the common failure points on an AR-15 addressed by Knights Armament and Gene Stoner, okay? Now, that's important, okay? It's a little thing, and to me and you, maybe it's not so important, but guess what? To somebody who works for a living and needs to depend on their guns and fire a lot of rounds, and maybe it's going to save their life, it's very important. That is very important to them, okay? So, oh, well, duh. All right. Now, here's the other difference, okay? Side by side, it's much easier to tell. Okay, so on right here is the Knights, right here is the BCM slash, mil-spec. I'm trying to hold them together here. It's weird. Okay. Rounded lugs. These ones are rounded, okay? And even on the inside, if you look, it's rounded. All these sharp 90-degree angles are taken out. All right? So what that does is makes it better. So your receiver extension, there's less of a chance that one of these sharp edges is going to hit the receiver extension, by wobbling a little bit and snapping off and shearing off one of these lugs. Now that's a common failure point, okay? And if you haven't had that problem, that doesn't mean it's not common. That just means you don't shoot a lot, okay? When these failures happen, you're probably talking 7,000 to 12,000 rounds, okay? So by doing that, and if you look at the ring, try to not look at the don't look at the lugs, but look at the ring that the lugs are on. Can you see how much thicker the material is here? Okay, like that web going around there. Okay, it is thicker. Okay, and then here's the other difference when you look at the extractors. Okay, Knights, BCM, mil-spec. This one has dual springs, okay? I haven't noticed a big difference as far as extraction goes between one or the other, but if one of these springs fails, there's another backup spring, essentially, is the way I look at it. Or there's less tension on one spring, it's spread out amongst two springs, so you get longer life. So your typical mil-spec bolt, I think, is somewhere between 10 and 12,000 rounds. Knights Armament, 20,000 rounds, okay? I haven't seen anybody not have one last. And you could still, you could still break an extractor or something like that, you know what I mean? Blow up a round. We saw that recently. Shit happens, but, let me show you something else too. you see where the pin holds the extractor in? This is the mil-spec, this is the Knights. That's actually, and I don't know what it does per se, but it's actually moved. So that's, you know, though the extractor is the same length, they changed the geometry, you know, of the extraction by moving the pin forward. Okay, so my guess is that's better, because they wouldn't have done it if it wasn't. Okay, so when someone says a gun has an E3 system, it's the combination of the extended length gas, the improved bolt reliability, all that stuff. Okay, that's the basics. That's what people mean when that's said. So that's it. That's in a nutshell. That is your basic SR15. Now that was the first one to come out. I'll just show you real quick while I got it open. The bolt carrier group. It looks like a standard two-stage. You know, it doesn't look too much different from a Geisley or whatnot. Though people do tend to prefer Geisleys. I literally don't care. So set that aside. Okay, so that was your legacy model SR15. Then shortly thereafter, there was some special models that came out. There was a Nighthawk package, a Magpul Dynamics package where they did some pretty cool things. A special rail, dimpled barrel on the Magpul. The Nighthawk was just out of control. Came with a 1911. I mean, if you have one of those, you have money to burn. So, anyways, I'm not gonna. Maybe I'll throw in some pictures of that stuff. So, next actual model that people could get and attain was the SR15 E3 Mod 1. Okay, 16-inch gun, same gas system, same bolt carrier group, same trigger. Okay, so you still had the E3 everything. You still had the two-stage match trigger. You still have the same lower with all the ambi built-in features, and the QD cups, LMT stock. My original came with a standard charging handle also. Okay, they did switch the rear sights to the micro 600-meter rear sights, and then also a micro front sight for your backup iron sights, because the biggest change on this model was the rail. Okay, they went to the URX 3.1 rail, which is probably my all-time favorite. It installs with the same god-awful wrench as the URX 2, but they cut all the rail sections off the side. And again, at the time, people started going, why do I need all these rails? Why do I need all these rails? Well, Knights was like, yeah, you're right. Let me shave them off. And then let me give you these awesome panels that really block the heat of the gun and make it lighter and look better. And they did just that. Now, this rail's even longer, obviously. This is a 16-inch barrel. I think this is a 13-inch rail or 13.5-inch rail. Now, the other big change that happened here, this is going to be impossible for me to show you. Maybe not. Maybe not. If you can see in there at the gas block, right there, this is taper pinned. So the exposed gas block, when it was out and could get hit, was set screwed, and then once they put the rail over it, they taper pinned it because everybody was bitching about it. So sort of funny, but I mean, I guess in a sense they did answer the call. People wanted a taper pinned gas block, so it would be mil-spec, and they got it. So I should have mentioned that these are nice barrels. I don't know exactly who makes them or anything. They're never going to tell us that, you know. I've seen, you know, anything from FN to Colt Canada, but it's a cold hammer forged 16-inch barrel, 1-in-7 twist. As far as I know, other than special models, they're all the same. They could be using different sources. I have no idea, but they're good. They're good barrels. They're not, you know, they're not meant for lights out accuracy. They're meant for more longevity, I believe. So. Another small change, and it's not a big deal. They gave you this gun with your ambi receiver, had this little clamshell cut, just for a little bit more comfort, you know, when you're shooting, so it's not pushing your finger out. at all. Now, again, not much changes on this generation. They did introduce some other models too, but the biggest change was the rail system. Everything else was essentially the same. Rear sight, clamshell, you know, not... Now, in the middle of this generation still being out, they switched something else. They started having receivers come out with no QD cups, and they added a plate back here for your QD, and they took these out of the receiver. I feel like that makes this receiver more desirable, but I mean, it hasn't really shown yet. I don't know. I have an SBR one, so I'll have it forever. It's not like I'm looking to sell it, but I don't have one of those from this generation. This is actually my original Mod 1 lower. So, I mean, you can see it's a QD cup lower. I bought that with a Mod 1 upper. I mean, with a whole, I bought a complete rifle. So, they came out with some special models, one of which is probably one of the most desirable Knight's Armament things you can get. And it's this same gun, but 14.5-inch barrel with a dimpled barrel underneath the handguard. It's the same gas system. They give you a different buffer. They give you an H2 buffer. And I should mention that all the 16-inch Knight's guns come with a standard buffer. It's marked SR15, so you don't really know. But they will run with a heavier buffer if you choose to do so. If you're going to suppress it, I'd put something heavier in there. But they run great from the factory the way that they give them to you. So, yeah. Now, there's not a ton of these out there anymore. They are getting harder and harder to find. Not as hard as the Legacies, but as time goes on, they're going to get harder and harder to find. And you can argue that you don't really need this once you have a newer one, but I don't know. I kind of just like it. Now, so that's we had the Legacy, the Mod 1, and then we're going to go to the Mod 2. The Mod 2, again, introduced some big changes. Now, at first, the Mod 2 had a key mod rail, okay? And I did have one of those. But the M-Lock is just much nicer looking. I really don't care for how it attaches, but once it's attached, it does seem to be a better system, and it does seem to be proven to be a better system. Biggest changes... I'll go with, well, all right, let me go with the little changes first, okay? So you can see, this is what I was talking about. They took the QD cups out and then gave you this plate on the back, okay? It came with a Magpul Mo stock, and some kind of Magpul grip. I don't exactly remember what it was. I didn't like it, but anyways, that's because of the grip angle mostly. This is a small change I noticed, but they gave you more of a SR25 style ambi magazine release. I don't know, it's not a big deal or anything, but again, same trigger. This isn't the 2-stage in here, but 2-stage trigger, ambi safety, all the ambi features. They still give you the QD cups just in the back portion instead of built into the receiver. Okay, the rail itself is pretty neat because it's one of the only rails that I know of that doesn't have a barrel nut. The rail is the barrel nut, and it's kind of a pain in the ass because of the way you have to do the gas block, but when you put it on, you spin it on and you time it, and then you spin it back off and you look at this chart and you shim it, and it works really good. You can do it without a torque wrench. You really do need to do it with a breaker bar. It takes a lot of torque to put this thing on. Jack Luba on Night Arm Co. YouTube channel has a video of the install, and actually originally I think I did I changed the Mod 1, my original Mod 1 upper, to the key mod handguard when it came out, and I watched, that's how I did it with Jack's video. So here's the same bolt carrier group, new handguard, new gas system now. So what they did with the gas system, and again, this is going to be one of those things that's really hard for me to show on camera, and I'll throw some pictures in so you can see. The gas block presses on, well, it pushes on, and then it's got a locking nut on the front of it. Okay, that's actually how it sits on there. And it's also higher, and it has a straight tube. The tube is, you can sort of see it there. It looks like it's just light. That's actually the gas tube. It's straight, so it goes right from the gas tube all the way back. And the way that the gas tube actually attaches to the block is like a brake line. Okay, it's got a flange, sticks on it. I can't remember what the hell you call the fittings, but it's pretty friggin' cool. It looks nice and clean. It generally has had some good results, from what I understand. And the key is that you'll have less chance of any kind of leakage. Okay, there's less spots for gas to leak out. Should just give you more of a solid system and you know, more reliability. Okay. Trying to think if there were any other changes. I'm sure I'm gonna miss something. But again, now this is just a very basic. This is a 14.5 SBR, by the way, but there were SBR models that were coming out in between all of this, and I'm just not going to get into it because I only got one of them, so I can't really get into all of them. But and then of course SR25s and everything else. Oh, they started doing their own charging handles. Okay, it's decent. It's not bad. It pinched the shit out of me in a class, but I wasn't wearing gloves either, so it's good. I don't bother changing them. Most everything else I change to a BCM gunfighter if I need to. I do not feel the need to change these, but I also don't suppress this gun. If I suppress it, I might change it. We'll see what happens when that day comes. Also, one other thing they changed is it started coming with this QDC 3-prong flash hider. So they took away the SOT mod. Still, when they added a Mo grip, I suppose, instead of an A2, but then they took off the bird cage and added one of these, which I'm sure it works great. I had an NT4, so I put that on there because I prefer it. But this is good. You can pin a 14.5 to 16.1 with this, no problem at all. So I got plans for this one. So we'll see. But yeah, this isn't bad. And I mean, these are like $90, so they're starting to stack up at my house. But I've never tried them for flash. I bet they, you know, work pretty good. The 3-prong systems usually do work pretty good. But of course, this is a suppressor mount for the QDC suppressors. It's good. So I guess that's about it. Again, it doesn't really matter what generation you have. They all shoot super smooth. You know, I like the SBRs, of course. You guys know I have the SR16 upper. It's kind of hard not to love that thing. This guy is becoming my my favorite 5.56 gun. It's just really good. They did a good job with this handguard. It's really just the perfect size. If you guys have any questions, I promise I'll stop doing all nights videos. Just on a fling with them right now. So anyways, that's it. I'm sure I missed some things, but you guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope I can sway you towards Knight's Armament someday.